Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our crew communication and scheduling webinar. I know some of you have joined some of the other webinars in our series, but some of you may also be new. So we're going to quickly go through how this webinar will work today, and then we'll dive into things. So this is part 4 in a 6-part series. So we have 2 more webinars coming up. Invoicing will be on Friday and best practices will be next week. So feel free to register if you haven't already. There's a link to the blog with all the registration links in the chat below. And of course, today we're going to be covering, like I said, crew communication and scheduling. So the first thing that we're going to go through is adding and managing your crew and all of their rates. Then we're going to talk about how you actually plan the crew functions in a project. And then we're actually going to plan crew on the project, and we'll show you the basic crew planner and also our visual crew planner. And then we'll talk about how you're supposed to communicate all this planning to your crew members. Now, this webinar is in listen and view only mode, so you can't use your microphone or camera, but there is a Q&A option down below, so you can post any questions you have. I am supported today by my colleagues Parker and Lauren, so they will help to answer questions, and we may choose to answer some questions live. Others we may just answer in the Q&A, and then others we may actually email you about in case we need to do some investigating. Now, this session today is recorded, and we will make sure the recording is available on YouTube, on our blog, which the link is in the chat, and via email. You'll receive an email about 24 hours after with the link to the blog and the recording. Further ado, let's go ahead and get started with our year. Let me just get a full screen mode up so we can see the entire screen here. Perfect. All right, so the first thing that I want to talk to you about today is how do you actually add your crew into Rentman? You know, there's all these exciting features like invitations and availability, but the first thing you need to do is make sure your crew are set up in the right way. Now, you can import your crew members. You can also add them manually here at the top. You'll find the import button right next to it. And you can add most of the information needed for your crew that way. Otherwise, you will need to come in and add some information manually, such as login details. Unfortunately, you can't import that. And also crew rates. So for example, if I just click on my name here and go into my crew member profile, you'll see here a tab called rates. And this is where you can add different rates for your crew members. Now, we're going to take another look at rates when we're actually planning crew members, but at least this is where you will actually set them up to be used while you're planning. Now, here in the crew members module, you'll also set up your crew by folders. Now, these folders could be whatever you want it to be. We do find it's useful to have more of a freelancer folder and also maybe your office workers or full-time employees in a different folder. But of course, you can tailor this however you'd like. And of course, this just makes it easier to see, okay, who are actually all of my freelancers. This is also where you will assign their user roles. So of course, with Rentman, you have power users, which are the paid users, and then you have different user roles that set the permissions and the things that they're allowed to do in the software. So maybe as a freelancer, you wouldn't have access to invoicing, financials, anything like that, but you would have access to time registration. So again, this is where you would assign the user roles to the crew members that you add here. Now, you also have the option to select your crew here and view them in a timeline view. You also will see another timeline view in the crew planner module, but it's nice to know it's available in both places. So of course here I can see when people are available, unavailable, and when they're planned on certain projects as well. Lastly, I just want to show you the details portion of the crew members module. Here you can see some minimal information about this crew member, but you can also add tasks, notes, and files on the crew member level in case you need to remember to ask them about something specific or add any notes or files on the record. You can also do that on the crew member level. All right, so that's how you actually add your crew members. And now we're going to go ahead and jump into a project just to see how the planning process actually works. All right, perfect. So we have a project here. This project has already been quoted. So the first thing that we did when we set up the quote is we actually added functions. So the first thing you do when you get a project is you just want to get that quote out as quickly as possible. It doesn't really matter the crew that'll work later on. You just need to quote for the jobs that you need. And that's what you will do here in the crew and transport tab. Here on the left-hand side, you will find all of the jobs, and you will actually set these up yourself. If I actually click into one of these jobs, let's look into our light technician role here. We can see some details. So for each job that you need on this project, you will assign either a fixed rate or an hourly rate, and this is how you kind of estimate those costs. Of course, you'll assign them here in the time schedule as well, and then once you plan crew later on, you already have that time schedule set and all the jobs that you need, so the crew planning part is actually quite easy. You'll just assign the crew members based on their skills. So again, first thing that you'll do here is set up your functions. And then we can actually go ahead and move into the crew scheduling tab to actually plan people on these functions. So we can see here the sound technician, light technician roles that we already had set in our crew and transport. And here we can now see instead of jobs, we actually have people. So we'll plan people here. Now, I do want to explain that we have two different crew planners. This crew planner here inside the project is our basic crew planner and is available for classic licenses. They work in roughly the same way, but there are some benefits to the visual crew planner, which I'll show you in just a moment. But what's important to know is that you can plan your crew in both places. And you can do that by actually just selecting one of the functions here. So I have my light technician function. You can see that the crew members have turned different colors on the side based on their availability. If they're working on another project, they won't be available, so they might be marked in red, or maybe they've already marked themselves as unavailable, in which case they are red still. Anybody marked in green means they are available because they entered their own availability in their personal schedule, so we know that they can definitely work. And then anybody marked in white here means we're just not sure, so we might actually have to ask them by inviting them to see if they are available. But of course, we have Tom here who is available to work as our light technician. So I can go ahead and select Tom, and I can go ahead and visibly plan Tom as a light technician. Now, visibly planning, what does that mean? Well, the first thing is that you can plan visibly or invisibly. Visibly means that it is immediately visible on their schedule. So I have planned Tom visibly. What I can now do is I can go ahead and go to the schedule here. I can go ahead and actually check Tom's schedule. And I can go ahead and see that technician. Oh, sorry, slightly. Need to go into the next month here. Sorry about that. Hold on just a second here, guys. Need to make sure I've got my dates right. Make sure you remember the date that you're planning for so you can make sure that they're there. Light technician. Okay. I'm doing something wrong here, but we're going to go ahead and move on. I'm going to show you how this works also in the visual crew planner. It works in the same exact way, but we'll see that on a different date there. So the main point is that visibly planning means it is available on their schedule. I promise you that. And then actually, if we go ahead and select this and change the visibility, what we've now done is we've invisibly planned Tom, so he won't be able to see this planning anywhere. We can play around with it, we can adjust the times, we can do what we need to, and we don't have to worry about miscommunicating anything to our crew because it is all invisible to them. So that's the difference between visibility and invisibility. Now let's go ahead and switch this back so we can plan that crew member. And what we're going to do now is actually go ahead into our visual crew planner. So we'll go ahead and open our crew planner here. And this is our visual crew planner. Now, there's a lot of benefits to using the visual crew planner. One of those benefits is it's a lot more user-friendly. You can drag and drop here. So if I wanted to change the times of Tom, I could say, okay, we need to drag it this way, we need to drag it this way. So it's a lot more user-friendly. Additionally, you also have the timeline view of your crew here. So for example, I can select all my crew members. I can see them directly in a timeline view here. So if somebody's already working on another project, I could see that, and maybe I could switch people around a little bit if I require skills of somebody specific. So again, it's just a lot more of a user-friendly experience. You have this double view here so that you can plan accurately. And additionally, you can plan multiple projects at once here in the crew planner. At the moment, we have a filter active so that we only see the music festival we're planning for, but you could plan for the coming week and see multiple projects here. So that way you have just a really great overview of the week ahead and what everybody's doing, whereas when you're just planning on the project, unfortunately, you don't have that easy view there. So I definitely recommend using the visual crew planner if you can. Now, of course, you'll notice a lot of different colors here. So let's take a moment to kind of go through these and understand what the colors mean here in the crew planner. So of course, these red functions here, these are all my functions that I've created, both my transport and my crew. You can see the little people and truck icon there. Now, red means we have not planned it yet. This green means that we have fully planned the function, so we don't need to worry about that anymore. And then on the crew member side, you have, of course, this darker blue when it is visible to the crew member. And then if you actually switch that visibility, you'll see that it's now a lighter shade of blue. And now our function is actually marked in orange. So even though we have planned crew members, it's not visible to them. So it will let you know. And then, of course, you just need to switch that visibility back to visible for your crew member and make sure that the function is fully planned. Now, when you're actually planning crew here in the visual crew planner, of course, it's like just like the basic crew planner. We're going to go ahead and select our sound technician role here. And again, you'll see those different colors here on the side. Of course, you also have the option to use tags here. So for example, we are looking for a sound technician. I can click this icon here and I can actually select the sound technician tag. And then I can only see the crew members that are working as a sound technician. So I do recommend using tags if you can. It's a great way to tag your crew based on their skill sets or even driver's license level, for example. You could even choose to have first choice and second choice crew. We know there's always those who have maybe slightly better skill sets. So it's fully up to you, but I do recommend using them just to quickly speed up that planning process. So now as a sound technician, what we can do is we can see, okay, actually who could work for us. So we know that Brian is not available because he is marked in red, but we know Amy, Joe, and Mark might be available. Now they are marked in white, so we aren't sure at this point. But what we can do is we can actually go ahead and invite them. So let's go ahead and invite our crew members there. Give me just a second here. Okay, I see what we're doing here. Somehow my project has, we're gonna go ahead for this sound technician role here, and we're gonna go ahead and invite them. Perfect. For anybody that caught on there, I was trying to invite in the past, which is a little bit difficult if the job's already been done. So now we're going to invite for this date and time, and we can go ahead on to the next step here. Now, at this point, when we're inviting our crew, we have an option to choose the type of invitation that we want to send. So this first type is a request for availability. It says, are they available on this date and time? Yes or no. So you can collect all the yeses from your crew members, and then you can choose who you actually want to work. Now, the second two invitations will directly plan them on the function, but again, it's based on visibility and invisibility. So if you visibly plan someone, it will be immediately visible on their schedule. And if you invisibly plan someone, it will not be visible on their schedule until you make it visible to them. So again, you can choose the type of invitations here. If you do directly plan your crew on functions, what that means is that it will be based on a first come, first serve basis. So for example, if you needed 3 technicians, you sent out 5 invitations. The first 3 that accepted that would be planned, and then the other 2 would be informed that it has been fully planned now. So no worries about that. And then of course, you'll just choose what you want here. And then of course, you want to give it a due date. We are inviting quite soon to our event here, but you could be that you want to have an answer 1 week before the event. So you can choose that here as well. And then of course, if you need to add any other crew members, you can do that from here. And then you can go ahead and attach a nice message here. Now, when you are inviting your crew members, if you want to speed up that process once again, you can go ahead and create pre-made templates. Now, these templates are just some text. So for example, I could say, hi, and add a variable of the crew member's first name. So we'll say crew member first name, and that will go ahead and add a variable. So whoever I'm inviting, it'll say, hi, Allison, or hi, Amy, or hi, Joe, and those variables will pull that information out. So you could add a nice message here. You could go ahead and save that as a template, and then you're not writing emails from scratch every time. You already have that set up for you. So then you'll go ahead and invite your crew members. Now, I am going to invite them, but I do have some fake email addresses in this demo database. So those won't actually go through to the crew members, but I want to show you what those invitations actually look like. So when you invite your crew, you will see those invitations here on the invitations line. And of course, you will also be notified when responses to those invitations are made. So for example, if we click on the bell icon here at the top and we click on this gear icon, these are the settings of our notifications. You can see here that receiving an invitation, your crew can receive that via email, mobile app, and web, so they can be notified in a variety of ways. And then when they reply, you can also receive that that notification via email, mobile app, and web as well. So that way, no invitations fall through the cracks. Everybody's informed of what's happening. All right, I do want to take just a quick break here, just see if there's any questions that are coming in that we should answer while we're going through things.
And while we give those questions a minute to roll in, I've got a quick fun fact for everybody. As many of you know, Rentman is based in Utrecht, the Netherlands, which is one of the most bicycle-friendly countries in the world. And within the Netherlands, Rentman is one of the most bicycle-friendly companies in the country, with over 75% of its 47 employees cycling to work each day.
I can personally say I cycled in this morning. It was lovely weather. It's a cool
It was
fact.
lovely
Thanks,
indeed.
Parker.
Did you cycle to work, Lauren?
Yes, I do. I do cycle to work.
There we go. There's some fun facts for you guys.
We do have one question now. Joseph is asking, is adding crew to Rentman free, or is there a charge for each crew member that you send notices to?
That's a great question. So within Rentman, you have two types of users. One of them is called a power user, and that is the only paid user role in Rentman. And a power user is typically the person who's going to create a project, send out that quote or invoice, or actually manage any financials like credit notes, anything like that. So outside of the actual planning side, your other crew members can have a free login to Rentman. So as long as they're not actually planning, sending out quotes or any financials, then they can access the warehouse module, they can access the equipment module to add equipment. Those are completely free. You don't need to be a power user to access those. So again, you only pay for the people that are planning in the software, and then the crew that are actually executing the events, like the warehouse workers and the technicians in the field, those are all free of charge, and you can add an unlimited amount of those into your crew members module.
Nice. Thanks, Allison.
No problem.
Joseph appreciated it as well.
Oh, great. I'm glad that made sense. Perfect. Okay, well, if there's no more questions, let's go ahead and move on into some finer details here. Now, let's zoom in just a little bit more so we can see our functions a little bit deeper here. Now, one thing that you should be aware of is that I mentioned you can drag and drop your crew members. So if with here, Tom, I can drag him to different times. I can also fully extend this time. So I can say, Tom, I need you to start a little earlier. I need you to stop a little later, and I'm going to move it this way again, and then I'm going to move it this way. Now, I've just moved Tom around maybe 10 times in the last 30 seconds. And this is why we don't send notifications, because if we did, then Tom would have just been inundated with notifications from me and probably get a little bit annoyed and not want to work for me anymore. So if you do need to communicate this planning with your crew members, there's several ways to do that. As I mentioned, this is available on their calendar. It's available in the mobile app as well. And then, of course, you also have the option to actually send the planning to your crew. Now, this planning document, you can select the project you want to send for. You can send for multiple projects if you'd like. You can also select the period here. So maybe you want to send them the planning for 2 weeks. It's up to you. And then you can actually select the crew member here. So let's select myself and let's preview what this would look like. So now I can see here some information about the projects that I'm planned on, where I need to be and when. The nice thing about this location is this is linked to Google Maps. So if I click on this link, it will show me the location. So this is a nice way to actually email the planning to your crew members. So if you want to make sure that they definitely got the times that they need to be there, you can go ahead and email this directly to them that way as well. So again, communication is happening via their calendar, the mobile app, here in the desktop, and also via email as well. All right, now, when we actually plan our crew, we have some different options here. So let's actually go ahead and right-click on Tom here. We're going to edit his planning. So when we actually edit the planning, we have some different, actually, let's go ahead and choose a different crew member so I can show you a better example. I'm going to plan myself here. And when we actually edit myself, we can see some different information here. Now, I do want to bring your attention here to the crew member rates, because I did mention these before. So in the crew members module, that's where you can set up multiple rates for your crew. You can go ahead and set a default rate that will always be assigned when you actually plan your crew members. But what's important about these rates is these costs are going to be calculated back into your project. In the beginning, when we spoke about project functions, I said that we estimated what a technician would cost us. Maybe it cost us $350 or euros for that day. Now, that's just on the estimation side. That cost gets included in our quote. That's what we will quote for. But when we actually plan people, it could very well be that we slightly under or overestimated how much a crew member would cost us. Now, if you're working with in-house crew, we totally understand you probably already know what you're paying them. So estimating is very easy. But when you're working with contractors and freelancers, it's not always so easy to estimate because, of course, their cost could be slightly different. Now here you can choose between, like I said, that default rate. You could even do a price agreement where you just manually enter the costs. Or in this instance, I also had a holiday rate. In some countries, for example, even in the US, if you work on a government holiday, you might get a slightly more rate. You might also have overtime rates that you want to track as well. So again, this is where you actually select that rate. And then these costs will be calculated back into your financial tab of your project as your planned costs. So we estimated what a sound technician would cost us. We're now planning a person, and that will come through as our planned costs. And then later when this project finishes, this crew member will register their time, and those costs will actually be calculated back as actual costs. So you have 3 different costs here that get edited with the crew members. And the purpose of that is to actually help you estimate and quote as accurately as possible. So again, if you are seeing a big difference between your estimated costs and your actual costs, then you know you need to adjust your quoting and estimation process. I hope that makes sense. Let me know if you have any questions on the financial side. All right, so that's rates. You also have the option here to select travel time. So when you actually create your functions, you can go ahead and say, all right, it's a 30-minute travel time there and back. You can go ahead and select that travel time to be included in the time of the crew member. So then again, when I actually select this round trip time, it will actually say, okay, then you're gonna add 30 minutes in the beginning and 30 minutes at the end because that is the travel time. So again, not only can you manage rates, but you can also manage travel time. Oh, sorry, I closed it a little bit too early. And then of course you also have the remark section here. Now, the nice thing about remarks is that you can communicate whatever you need to your crew, and this can be included on the crew planning document that I showed you earlier that you can send via email. I recently had somebody ask me, hey, I need to communicate hotel reservations and rental car information to my crew. What is the best way to do that? Well, you could simply leave it here in the remarks. So we'll say hotel reservation number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So anything vital that they need while they're traveling or doing whatever they need to do to get to the event, you can also leave that here. Maybe they need to wear your best clothes. Maybe they need to dress really fancy for this particular event. It could be AV, it could be a party rental, whatever type of event you're doing. You can communicate with your crew in this way and make sure that they know exactly what they need to do here. All right, so that's there with the remarks and your rates and travel time. I also want to show you a couple of features here actually in the timeline view as well. So let's go ahead and select all of our crew members here. So here actually in the timeline, of course, we have all of our crew. Now, your crew have the option to indicate their own availability. They're going to do that in their personal schedule. So they can actually drag and drop on their schedule and they can say, yes, I'm available at this date and this time. Now, we know that crew members, maybe they're a bit too busy and they actually haven't sat down and entered their own availability. And that's fine. We totally understand that, not everybody is going to actually be, entering in every time they go on holiday. So what you can do as a power user is you can actually enter that for your crew. So I could say, okay, for these crew members, I want to mark them as available because I know they're available. I could mark them as unavailable because maybe we're going on a company party and I know that these people can't work even though there's other projects going on. Whatever the case may be, you can mark them as available or unavailable. Now, you also have the option to mark them as reserved. So what I could do is say, okay, Mark, Allison, and Amy, we're doing an inventory count on this day in our warehouse. I'm going to go ahead and reserve you guys because I know you're the best ones to do this inventory count. I don't want you to be planned on other projects, so let's go ahead and just reserve you guys for this date and time. So what I can do is go ahead and add that there, and I've got the reservation already. So I know now that the inventory count's going to get done. My crew don't have to worry about, doing multiple things at the same time because of course inventory count is quite important. You want to make sure your inventory levels are up to date. So of course you have full availability there to reserve them, and that will also affect their availability as well. All right, now you also have the option to, of course, plan your transport as well as your crew. I don't want you guys to think I've completely forgotten about the transport side of things. So what you can do here is actually select your transport functions, and let's go ahead and look at our vehicles here. So now we have all of our vehicles, and just like with the crew functions we create, we already created transport functions. So here I have a transport function of a certain sized vehicle. At the point of, estimating on my quote, I didn't really care what vehicle, I just knew I needed a specific size. And now what I can do is actually choose the type of vehicle that I want to plan. So I have, my coach, I have private transportation, I have a couple trucks and a couple vans as well. Now, you can also select all of your vehicles and you can also view them on a timeline of availability here as well. Actually, let's, oops. Okay. All right, we've got them down here below. So we've got our truck 1, our truck 2, our vans. You can see where they're planned, where they're being used. You also have the option to actually reserve your vehicles as well. Let's do it. Give me just a second here, guys. All right. You do have the option to reserve them. I think it's because I'm trying to read the past here. Let me see what's going wrong. There we go. All right. There we go. Okay, so as I mentioned, just like with your crew, you can actually mark them as available or unavailable. Maybe you know that this particular truck has to go in for maintenance. You need to make sure that it doesn't get planned anywhere. So you can go ahead and mark that as unavailable. Let's do our truck 1, and we can go ahead and select that. We'll do our truck 1 instead of truck 2. So again, now I've got it is unavailable during that date and time because I know it's going to be in maintenance at that time. So again, you can manage your vehicles just like you do with your crew. And then of course, to actually plan your vehicles, you can go ahead and double click on a vehicle here. So let's plan our van 3. And then of course, with your van, you can do exactly like you do with your crew. You can move it around a little bit, adjust it, whatever you need to. You also have options here with the transport if you need to leave any remarks or anything like that. And then of course, you can add transport times just so that the drivers know when they need to leave to get to the location as well, like as with your crew. All right. Take a minute, see if we have any questions coming through.
While we wait for those questions to come in, I've got a question for you two.
Oh,
How
no.
many projects do you think are created on a daily basis in Rentman? Keep in mind, there are 50,000 users in 71 countries. So what's your best guess?
Let's say 50,000, Parker.
50,000 projects? What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go big or
Lauren?
go home.
50,000 projects a day? That's quite a lot.
That would be that would be one per user.
I think maybe 10,000.
10,000?
Yeah.
Huh. Wow. Quite high guesses. So it's actually 3,000.
Okay, still
But
decent.
yeah.
Close enough.
Still no questions,
I'm still
Allison.
thinking
So I.
about the population.
Oh, what's that?
No question. Let's take a quick look also at the vehicles module. So I've kind of come to the end of the crew planner and some of the things that you can do in there. But I do want to briefly show you the vehicles module as well, because we were just talking about them.
Parker's having some technical issues at the moment, so
No
he'll be
worries.
back.
All right,
I'm back.
that was quick. I saw a question come in that would be cool to answer live. Don't know if you're already answering that one, Parker.
I am not, Allison. I lost you for a second. I'm not sure if it's my internet or.
No worries, we're just waiting on questions.
Oh, we're waiting on questions. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yes, Joseph asked about how to cover meal costs.
That's a
And
great question.
yeah, my
Let's
vote
take a
would
look.
be additional costs, but I'm not
Yep.
sure what you had in mind.
Exactly, yeah. So here in the additional cost section, you can see actually in this project, we already added a hotel stay for our crew. So anything as far as expenses go, I would definitely use additional costs for. This could be hotel stays, this could be food and beverage, this could be rental cars, whatever else. Maybe they had to buy some rain equipment or some ponchos, who knows. Anything expense-wise that you need to add to the project, go ahead and add it here under those additional costs. When you actually add the additional costs, of course, you'll give it a name. You'll say the price that you charge for it, how much it costs you, and then you can even assign it a ledger code here. So if it does fit within the ledger codes. Hope that helps answer your question there.
I would say feel free to proceed whenever you'd like, Allison.
Well, we've come to the end here, Parker, so we're just leaving it open for questions at this point.
Okay, great, great.
think we'll leave things open for a couple more minutes just to see if any questions come through or if there's anything you guys missed out of our crew planning and communication.
So Nana was wondering if you could quickly re-show how to enter crew availability.
Perfect, yes. So there's actually two ways to do that, and it depends on who is entering the availability. So if the crew member is entering their availability, let's go ahead and switch back to me here. Oh. I'm selecting time, so I can say you can take place. So don't worry for now. Both the old interface and new interface are here. We know that because of the beta testing, there are a couple bugs that we are working through. So we want to make sure that we get everything nice and tidy before we fully switch.
And we have another question also from Jordy. He says, will the app also get updated at the same day?
Lauren, do you have some insight there?
Yeah. The app is not on the schedule to be updated at the moment. We will be looking into it though. I think those are all the questions so far.
All right, perfect. Well, we'll leave it open for another minute only because it's 39 after, so I'd like to end on an even note to end. So if there's any last minute questions, please let us know now. Otherwise, we will end a little bit early today and you guys can take advantage of this extra 20 minutes, send some more emails or whatever you need to do. All right, well, we'll go ahead and close things out here. Just keep in mind, we will send an email out to you about 24 hours after with the link to the recording. So you can rewatch this in case you need to refresh. And then of course, we do have 2 more webinars in our series. So please register for those if you haven't. And then we all wish you a great day and thank you again for joining us today.
Thanks, Allison. Oh.
Bye guys.
Bye.